Welcome to the IBS Nutrition Podcast, your go-to source for navigating the complex diagnosis of irritable bowel syndrome. Here, we dive deep into IBS and discover the power of diet and lifestyle to find freedom from your IBS symptoms. I'm your host, Jessie Wong, FODMAP dietitian and a gut expert. For years, I suffered from debilitating gut symptoms that kept me out of work, feeling constant discomfort in my body and anxious around food. Today, I'm in control of my IBS, able to eat the food I love again, travel whenever I want, and spend quality time with loved ones. It is my mission to help you do the same and transform the way you live with IBS. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of IBS Nutrition Podcast. Today, we are so excited to bring in our honorary guest, Deb, who is our past client to the podcast, to share with you her experience, what kind of IBS she has, how she's doing now after working together, to give you some hope and maybe inspire you to know that you do not have to live with IBS symptoms forever. Knowing how to manage and knowing what are triggering your symptoms is the key to finding freedom. And of course, I'm here with my amazing co-host, Brooke, our lead team IBS dietitian at IBS Dietitians. All right. Hi, Brooke, and hi, Deb.
Hi.
So glad to have you here.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story, because it's really helpful for other people who are struggling to, one, know that they are not alone in this journey, and two, know that there are better ways to really manage their IBS for good. And it's really not by taking a ton of supplements, or it's not by, seeing providers who may not be on the more evidence-based side of practice. So, Deb, if you don't mind, can you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm a mom of three. I'm 53 years old, and I'm a registered dental hygienist. I enjoy travel. I enjoy hanging out with my friends. I love to entertain. Recently, I've taken up piano lessons and golf lessons, so always trying to learn something new.
And you enjoy traveling a lot, right?
Yeah, we do. We are very fortunate to travel as much as we do. So all my symptoms were starting to become a problem, and were hindering on my travel and my excitement for travel. It became more of a stressful situation than I wanted it to be. It took all the joy out of it, really. Especially when it came to eating. If I could just travel without eating, I felt like, oh, I'll be okay then.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a little bit more. When did your symptoms start, and what happened, and how long have you been having IBS?
Well, in 2012, I had my gallbladder removed, and I feel like symptoms changed from then on. I always remember as a kid, and even into my later, my late early 20s and such, I had more constipation, and then I would I would not go for so many days, and then I would really go, to the point where I felt ill. But I don't know, I never really thought much of it, and I think I probably lived that way for quite a long time, and it wasn't until after I had my gallbladder out that I started to realize, wow, this doesn't seem normal, why do I react to so many things? So then I started to kind of figure out my own kind of food elimination. I realized that beef products, gave me a stomach ache, so I eliminated beef. And then as the years went by, the constipation became more, and the stomach issues became more of a chronic diarrhea situation. So I went to see my doctor, who really quite didn't know. Plus, I was also starting to have more menopause, perimenopause, and menopausal kind of leading into that symptoms. So I wasn't sure, maybe that was a component of that. Because I didn't really have typical hot flashes and things that some people have. So from there, I spoke with a gynecologist, and he put me on some different medications to deal with the menopausal symptoms. And he suggested I see a naturopath. So I went to the naturopath, and then I spent loads of money on different supplements, and I needed to work on my sleep and my adrenal glands and taking these vitamins, and along with all the other medication that I was prescribed. And then from there, she suggested, because I wasn't getting any better. If anything, I felt sicker. So I stopped taking some things, and she suggested I pay to have blood work to find out what food sensitivities I have. Well, $300 later on that testing, she's like, don't eat this, don't eat that, and don't have any dairy. So I thought, well, every time I have a shake, I seem to really react. So maybe it's dairy. I gave up dairy. I mean, I just was getting so frustrated. I went to my doctor, and, you know, I truly believe if you do not advocate for yourself, you're not going to get very far. And I was very adamant with her about wanting a colonoscopy done, even though I wasn't quite, I would have not been quite 50 yet. I really wanted an endoscope done. And from there, I had that testing. Everything came clear. They said I had a little gastritis. Fine. I'm not sure how I got that, but how that happened. But anyways, probably from all the supplements and stuff is the only thing I could think of. And then they put me on an acid reflux med, which worked. I assume it healed, but I didn't really feel like I had acid reflux anyways. So I did that for a few months. And then from there, you know, I was still having issues. So then I said, I think I need a CT scan. So fine, she gave me a CT scan. Thank goodness everything came back clear. And, you know, this is over time, and I'm trying to travel, and I'm getting upset, I'm getting sick, you know, and I the whole time I would get on a plane, I would be popping Imodium like it was Tic Tacs along with gravel because my nerves literally were on the edge. A year ago, I had a gastroenterologist appointment. And I asked my doctor to get me one, and I waited a while to see him. And he was very set in his ways, one might say. His bedside manner wasn't very kind. He only wanted to do a phone interview, and I had said to the nurse, will you please have him call me at 1:45 or later, like put me at the end of the list, because I'm with my patient till 1:30. And as soon as I'm done dismissing them, I have time. Like I can go somewhere in the office, I can go to my car, wherever. She's like, absolutely no problem. He called me at 1 o'clock, and I thank God I had my Apple Watch on, and I looked and I said to my patient, I said, I'm really sorry. I just give me 2 minutes. I've got to run and get this call. So I get on the phone. I said, hi, you know, he's like, is it a bad time? I go, well, actually, you know, I'm with my patient. Do you think you can call me back? Like, give me 30 minutes, you know? He's like, no. I said, but I'm with my patient at work, as you would be with your patient at work. And he said, no. I said, just give me a minute. I had a dental assistant come in and finish one of the things that she can do that I do. And I said, I'll be back. My patient was wonderful. She sees only me. She was very understanding. So I go into my boss's office and I'm chatting, and he was asking me, when did all my symptoms start? And I said, oh, you know, I'm going back to my gallbladder and blah, blah, blah. And he was getting aggravated with me and very like rude. And he's like, how long have you had this for? Answer the question. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So now I'm already flustered because, one, I don't have my notes with me because I was very prepared for this appointment. And I said, I don't, like 10, 12 years. And he goes, well, do you travel? Have you gone out for dinner in 10 or 12 years? He's going on. I go, yes. And he's like, well, then you're just fine. From now on, just carry Imodium and follow the low-fat MUP diet, and you'll be just fine. And I got off the phone, and I couldn't believe that that's what I've been waiting for was an answer, some guidance, treatment, medication. I don't care. Somebody who specializes in gastroenterology should have the answer, right? And I was so depleted. I was so upset. I started crying at work, which I am not a crier. And my one boss is like, oh my goodness, like what happened? And I'm just like, I just was so fit to be tied. I was so sad that was the answer that he had left me with. From there, I reached out to a dietitian here, and she suggested that I just, she put me on, funny enough, she put me on, she thought I should have overnight oats for breakfast every morning. Oats were not the problem. She thought I should have, I know I'm going to, hopefully I don't get mixed up. I think she said I should have insoluble fiber only, right? It's not soluble? Or is it the other way around? I had to have one fiber.
Probably the other way around.
Soluble fiber.
The soluble fiber only.
She gave me a booklet of every food you can think of and the amount of fiber. So I had to keep looking before I could eat a veggie to see, or a fruit, to see what the fiber content was. And I had to be below a certain mark. That, to me, was harder than doing the FODMAP challenge. Way harder. Because I'd be like, oh, no. No. I felt like I had more things that I eliminated that way than with the FODMAP challenge. Mm. So that did not go well either. And she put me on a probiotic, which as soon as I started with you guys, you're like, nope, off you go. So I once again, just being so grateful for you guys, because you just totally eliminated so many things that people were putting me on. And in fact, it was just a matter of something that I was actually eating to eliminate, instead of trying to buy more vitamins, more supplements, more medications, do this, do that. When in fact, if you just take one ingredient and then you can feel like 110 times better, that's the best answer.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And for anybody else listening, this is what we hear all the time, is people being put on maybe some even 20, 30 and beyond types of supplements to try to fix their gut. Now, that's a lot of money to spend. And that is a lot of time wasted, not actually getting to the bottom of if you have a food trigger. For people who with food triggers, you need to understand what really triggers your symptoms. And a lot of the times we're heartbroken for our clients because you trusted the provider who recommended you with these things, or you found it online, or family or friend who recommended it for you, and they not only don't help, sometimes they really make your symptoms a lot worse. And a lot of the time, sometimes we see patients with persistent bloating or symptoms that won't go away that was actually triggered by a supplement. Mm-hmm. And those are the worst case scenarios. So if you are listening to this, even if you don't work with us, which is totally fine, one thing I would like you to get out of listening to today's podcast is that supplements are not the solution. And it's not helpful, and sometimes can be more harmful. So be very careful and always talk to your healthcare provider before trialing any sort of supplements, and make sure you know what outcome you are measuring when you're trialing anything.
Yeah.
And the first recommendation, right, step is stop everything except for your prescription medication. Stop everything so we can really see what your baseline is without being maybe aggregated or aggravated or have a bandage on, so we can see, what the baseline is.
Well, I'll be happy to report I have a new gastroenterologist who's fabulous. Okay. And when I told him about you guys, he was like, that sounds great. And he was happy with all the outcome and all the treatments. And yeah, he was really good. So it was good.
That is so great to hear. We are in the process of putting together a compassionate GI or PCP list for everybody who comes to our website. So I would love to send you that link, and maybe if you can share with your GI doctor, then he or she can get on our list and people can find them. It's and thank you for sharing your story. I think this is one that we hear all the time, is people going to their gastroenterologist. They feel like they're dismissed by the physician because there's not a whole lot a physician can do when it comes to diet and lifestyle. Yes, medications can work, and people will try different types of medications. But if diet and lifestyle can help you, it should be ideally the first line of defense. But there are limitations to what GIs can do because they only have 15 minutes with you and they have to move on. Otherwise, their days will not end, and it's just how they're setting up the physician to fail. And sometimes not sometimes, a lot of the times it frustrates everyone in the process. Now, but if you're listening to this and you heard Deb's story, she found a GI that is compassionate, that listens, so don't give up. Find yourself a GI that listens. And one thing we recommend to people is that go on to Google Maps, search for gastroenterologists in your area. Google has reviews. Look for ones with higher reviews and actually read through their comments and see, hey, does this doctor listen? Does this doctor help you with multiple things? Or do they have bad reviews? That way it saves you time and money when you're looking for a physician. And if you have a good gastroenterologist, you love your GI, I would love for you to, put in a contact on our website so that we can reach out and get their information and put on our website.
So from then on, your phone truly listens to you, because I seem to get more of an influx of Instagram things on IBS. And across came one of your reels. And I was like, wow, this exactly is me. And you had one of the other clients on there and her symptoms were exactly the same. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this, I need this, and I truly don't think carrying Imodium with you and following the low FODMAP diet is the answer. I truly knew, doing my own research, that just wasn't the case. I needed something more than that. And to me, that wasn't a resolution. That was just like putting a Band-Aid on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a friend who's a dietitian here, and I said to her, do you mind looking at this woman's Instagram account? And, like, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's legit? Like, I don't want to spend money if, you don't know, right? She's like, no, I think it's great. Like, you should probably seek it out. And honestly, I am forever grateful I did, because that was the best decision I ever made for myself. So thank you, ladies. So yeah,
Thank you for trusting us.
because I honestly, I always think now, like, if I never would have reached out, where would I be? I mean,
Right.
I lost over 20 pounds. Like, I'm not a big person. I mean, I could afford to lose a few pounds, but not 20. I was getting so sick, and every time I go to somewhere, I always had like that, yeah, fine kind of look, like, I'm feeling great. Like, I'd be counting in my head, like, how many more hours do I have to sit here? I just want to go home, or always wondering, where's the bathroom? How many bathrooms are there? Where are they located? Like, it's not enjoyable. And the more I worried about it, all that stress and aggravation aggravated my symptoms even more.
Mm-hmm. Deb, you were mentioning, well, prior to recording, we talked about your daily routine prior to working together. I think that's something people can really relate to. If you don't mind telling us again,
Yes.
what you shared with us. Yeah.
So I have to be at work for like 7:15 in the morning. So I get up like at 5:00, and I would eat something, and then I knew that no matter what I ate, things weren't going to settle. And I would literally be trying to get out the door to get to work on time, and I would have to go to the bowel movements. I would have at least 3 to 4 every morning, to the point that I was so depleted that now I feel nauseous, and now I'm stressed because I'm going to be late for work. So by the time I get to work, my nerves are on edge, and I just try and focus. I wouldn't eat anything. I just have a few sips of water at work, and maybe the odd banana or soda crackers, just to kind of keep things, because as a hygienist, I don't have a break. I'm on a schedule. I have people waiting, and I don't want to keep my patients waiting. So, and then, I would just always feel so sick all the time, like nauseous. And I just felt like I wasn't myself with them. And I would literally, on the way, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to take that road. How many Tim Hortons are there? Or how many places could I literally stop at quickly if I needed a bathroom? And I'd have supplies in my car. I had carried wipes. I carried Ziploc bags. I carried extra clothing, extra uniform, extra whatever I had in my car always, just in case I didn't have an opportunity. And it's not a way to live. And when I think back to being told just to carry Imodium and follow low FODMAP diet, I'm like, I don't want to live like this. This is, there's got to be an answer. There's legitimately a reason. You just aren't inflamed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's something in my body that's reacting.
Right. Well, let's give a little bit hope to our listener.
Well, there's resolution.
Can you share how your life is nowadays? And then we can talk about what we did together to get you to this point.
Well, I'm always at work on time now. I have no trouble getting out the door. It's way better. Yeah, we were just away. We went to, in March we went away, and that was my first trip since working with you guys. And I think overall I did pretty good. Like, I don't know, I felt good at the airport. I just remember Brooke giving me my travel, like, kind of guidelines, what I need to bring with me. And I felt good. I felt like it's going to be okay. And every time now I leave the house on time, I don't bring all those supplies with me anymore. I don't miss things anymore. We can say yes, or we're going to go out for dinner. I just use my Find Me Gluten-Free app, which lists a lot of restaurants. More and more restaurants are having actual gluten-free menus now. So, like, there's as each day goes by, there's a comfort level that comes with it, and you start to feel more relaxed and not so stressed. So yeah, it's better. And I feel like my husband doesn't seem to be so like, oh, are you all right? Like, do you need anything? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's better. Yeah, much better.
Yeah. Okay. And I want to quickly remind everybody who may be listening, most people with IBS does not need to be on a gluten-free diet. But if gluten is your trigger, then that's when you might need to
Right.
do the gluten-free diet. And in our program, we never just put somebody on a gluten-free diet and say that they are gluten intolerant. We actually do elimination and challenge to identify, because it's not always gluten, and most people who are self-identified as gluten intolerant are not actually intolerant to gluten, because there's also fructan from the FODMAP group that we need to consider when it comes to wheat food. Okay, Deb, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Let's talk about what we did together. I know you worked with Brooke primarily,
Yes.
so maybe I'll have Brooke ask you some of the questions as well, and maybe what did we do together, what really helped you, and maybe when was the point that you realized the program has really turned your life around or it's working?
Yeah, so I was looking back at your journal, and we didn't start gluten-free. I think maybe we started with a little fiber, cutting out some drinks and things. And I do remember a little bit of resistance about going gluten-free. But then you were all in by the end. So we don't ever want to we don't just across the board say everyone's gluten-free, everyone's low FODMAP. But we do, if we do feel like cutting out gluten could be helpful, we really just say, let's do it for 2 weeks and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was so resistant too, because last summer, I took my daughter to Paris for a week, France, and it was really hard to find a lot of foods there to eat. And a lot of the things that we're avoiding were a lot of cheeses and stuff, because I thought, oh, it's, dairy or whatever. And bread, I felt like, oh, every time I ate bread, my stomach felt good. It was the next morning I didn't feel good, not even beginning to think that possibly it could be bread or cracker, like any of those items, because I always went to those items to make myself feel better after.
Yeah.
Because primarily the majority of the time that I would have issues was in the morning, the next day, not like some people who are like celiac, they get very ill instantly. Whereas the next day would be. So I was like, what? I can't be bread? No way.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we got you to a good place.
Yeah.
And then we did all those lovely reintroductions.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your reintroduction phase.
Like with the FODMAPs, you mean like initially? Well, we did the whole FODMAP challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we did all the challenges, which was eliminating all the groups, I think there was 8 in total. I did fairly well with them, except the gluten, the oats, and the mushrooms. Those are my triggers. Gluten-free oats, regular oats, anything with oats. Oats and I are not friends. And I was so disappointed. I was like, I guess not really, because I do enjoy a good oatmeal cookie. That was more the thing, because I don't really like oatmeal on its own, but I was just like, oh, okay. So, but I did, I did all the challenges, and that was the end of all of them and the results. And I have to say I was very nervous initially doing all those challenges, and I thought, oh, this is going to be such a pain, but it was good. I'm glad I did them. I think you learn a lot. And I learned a lot about the fiber too. Like that was huge. Like I always was unaware. Like I always knew you needed fiber, but not to the extent. But I was amazed at foods I eat regularly all the time, how much some of them actually have a ton of fiber in them.
Yeah. So how do you structure your day now eating? Is it more around fiber, or do you just kind of eat kind of what you enjoy?
A little bit of both. I still try and stick to the 25 grams of fiber. As you know, I don't really eat a lot, so sometimes I might only get to 20. But I still try and make sure I have all the fruits and veggies. And I've always been pretty good clean eater anyways. Like I always have lots of protein, lots of veggies, So I think I do hit the mark pretty much almost every day. But I'm definitely, I would say I'm probably more 20 to 25. And then I also have that fiber that I take at night as well, that 1 scoop, which is helpful. But being my age group and going with menopause, fiber is so important for that too. Like, you know what I mean? So we need that. That's just, I think, a combination of going through this IBS issue and the menopause. There's a lot of similar things that go together on our diet, our exercise, all those things, they all play, the whole sleep, the mindfulness, all of that they're very similar. So I kind of, between the two problems here, they've definitely come together, and I've been able to help both things, I guess.
Deb, that was like my next question. Actually, besides food, there are lifestyle challenges that we did together that helped you when you answered it before I even asked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good about getting my exercise in anyways, but definitely, trying to be more mindful. The deep breathing I find really helps, like that 5-4-3-2-1, 5-4-3-2-1. That really can bring a person from here to here. Just a few rounds of that makes a huge difference. And the journaling, back to journaling, that helps. All these things, just trying to shut your mind off.
You're talking about the gratitude journaling, right?
Yeah.
That helps you feel better. And yes.
There's one
so that
you can buy here that's really good. I'm sure you can buy it in the States, but it's called 5-Minute Journal, and it's a great guideline because you're not having to just have a blank paper. So you're writing 3 things that are grateful things, 3 things that happened today that were good, 3 things. And so it gives you that guidance, and it's just the smallest page, but it really makes a difference. And you don't have to write a whole journal of your feelings for the day. You know what I mean? But it's amazing just answering a few things, and you just all feel a sense of like, calmness.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So that's one of the lifestyle things that we challenge our clients to do is the gratitude journaling to help you feel better. Okay. At what point of working together, maybe Brooke and you can talk together about this, did you notice that you are actually getting better? When did you have that light bulb moment or a moment where you're like, oh, things are changing. This is actually working? Because you've done so many things that didn't work in the past.
Yeah. Well, when I finally gave into Brooke and did the gluten, honestly, it was like just a couple days in, and I was like, holy Hannah. Like, I could not believe the difference. And it just, from then on, it just got better and better and better. And I actually looked forward to my appointments every Wednesday. I couldn't wait to find out, like, what Brooke thought. Like, is this good? Like, can you believe it? What have I learned? Like, I mean, it was just so good. So good.
Thank you. Well, let's also share maybe with our audience a little bit. So our group program, there are 14 sessions, right? We meet every week routinely, which I think for us, that's the sweet spot is really meeting every week to analyze, to look at things. If things are not working, then we recommend something else. But you were saying you look forward to these meetings because you've done a challenge and you want our opinion on the challenge to see whether things what we are thinking about those challenges. What are some of the challenges on the top of your head that you wanted our opinion on?
Well, probably the gluten was the big one. Yeah. The gluten,
Okay.
The mushrooms. I really struggled with the mushrooms because I really like mushrooms, and I kind of added it to a lot of different meals. It's a great add-on that you can add to a stir fry, a pasta sauce. You can stuff it, like whatever. And I find it such a good way to get another veggie into you. But sadly, mushrooms and I are not friends. No one bit. So
I think we saw the mushrooms in your journal, and then like the later that day or the following day, you weren't feeling so well or had looser stools. And then I was like, I'm not sure mushrooms. So trialing the mushrooms was going to be important just to see if that, that had been what was causing the issues. So yeah, that was a good informative challenge for sure.
No, for sure. Yeah. Everything else I did pretty good on. Funny, some of the things I would just eat, and then I would look later and I go, oh, that was part of a challenge somewhere. But I'm like, well, I must be okay with it. Nothing happened. That challenge done.
Yes, actually, then that's always the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. I did find the red kidney bean one a challenge because, I mean, nobody really, I don't know, loves to eat that many beans. But in the end, it was good, though. It was all good.
Oh, that's great. Beans is often a challenge for a lot of people.
Yes, yeah. But the group sessions are they were really good. At first I thought, as if I want to talk about my problems to people I don't know. At the tail end of when I joined, there was a lady who's at the tail end of her sessions, and she had very similar symptoms as I did. So I looked forward to hearing what she was going to say, because not only could she relate, but she was also towards the end. So to hear her progress, to me, that was encouraging. It was hopeful, knowing, wow, like, look at, she's overcome, like, so I felt like this is a good thing. This is going to work out, and you learn so much from so many other people in the group.
Yeah. Well, Deb,
Thank you.
for those people, thank you for sharing everything. And I think actually, you messaged me really quickly into the program. It was like, Jessie, your program is amazing. I can't believe I'm already feeling so much better. And I will have to say, it's all Brooke. Brooke was reviewing your journal. You guys are meeting weekly to really get down to the bottom of it really quickly. Now, for anybody else who is struggling right now, what is one piece of the encouragement you have for them, and maybe advice as well? So two things, encouragement and also advice.
Well, sign up, first of all. Sign up. You're crazy not to sign up, because you will have resolution. I think you really have to advocate for yourself, and you have to go with your gut, because if you know in your heart, like, something's not right and something's not working, and it's normal and what's not normal, that you definitely need to seek out alternative medicine elsewhere. Because just because your doctor's your doctor, it doesn't mean that they have the right answer, especially if you're not getting any better. I think my doctor initially, when I asked her to have all that blood work, she was a little hesitant, but I pushed it. I said, I go, what does it matter to you? Like, you're just signing off the requisition. She's like, well, you're going to have to pay for some of this. I'm like, it doesn't affect you. I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? Like, you have to just push and push and push until you find the right program. And I really think that your program, it shows you when you're getting people all around the world signing up and are having great results. That's success. That is success. And Brooke, because we work primarily with Brooke, she's such a great leader. She truly is. And so knowledgeable.
Thank you.
And so kind and so empathetic to people's symptoms and what they're going through. And she tries to help you find alternatives and resolution and try this and do this. And, she never just says, oh, well, good luck. You really walk away from every meeting feeling like there's hope. You feel like, okay, that challenge worked. That's great. Okay. Like, you're ready for the next one because you can check one off your list. Or it's okay you failed the challenge. It's okay. It's okay that you can't have mushrooms, or it's okay you can have gluten. Yes, it sucks when you go out, but you can live better. You can have your life back. And there's still millions of other foods you can eat. And I love to bake. During COVID, my poor family, I baked so much. I baked bread. I baked so much food. My husband begged me to stop baking at one point. But now I'm learning to bake with gluten-free flour. I make cookies and different things, and sometimes the kids don't even notice. So there's alternatives. So yeah, I honestly think
that's great.
You can't go wrong with your program at all. You girls are on something.
Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. And again, for anybody else who are listening, you need to identify your trigger, because Deb's trigger may not be your trigger, and you don't have to cut out food endlessly without knowing. Even with the low-FODMAP diet, it's a 3-step protocol. Eliminate, reintroduce, understand your triggers, and then to eat what you can actually tolerate and feel good. The last thing we want people to do is eliminate everything and not really feeding themselves appropriately and not feeling their gut microbes, because variety is so important in supporting better gut function.
Yeah.
And Deb, we are so thankful for your time and sharing your story with us today. It's been a real pleasure on our end, I would say, to work with you and seeing your improvement over time and really getting you to a good place now that you know your trigger, can go out and travel without fear and live a normal life, would you say?
Yes. And my friends they're so kind. And then when you go to their house, they go out of their way to make sure there's gluten-free options. And it's really good. Yeah. I'm glad it's now and not 10 years ago, because I think people who found 10 years ago they had gluten-free would have been a lot harder than it is now. But I don't really stress. Like, we want to go for dinner. All right, let's go. It's not, a few years ago, I no longer I'm a foodie. Like I love meals. I love wine. It really was taking the joy out of that for me. And I feel like the joy is coming back again.
You're so good to hear.
Thank you guys. Oh,
Thank you. All right. We are going to wrap up our episode today. And thank you for all of our listeners that are listening. Thank you, Debs, so much for joining us.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the IBS Nutrition Podcast. We hope today's episode has brought you closer to understanding and managing IBS. Remember, you are not alone on this journey, and finding freedom is possible. For more on IBS, make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platforms and please leave us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate that. You can access links mentioned in this episode in the show notes to learn more about your type of IBS and how to identify your own food or lifestyle triggers. Register for our free IBS Masterclass, 3 Steps to IBS Relief, for our proven holistic 3-steps approach to managing IBS once and for all. Head to ibsdietitian.com/masterclass to register. Until next time, take good care of your gut, and here's to your health and happiness.